Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the CD guy, Johnny Z here. Thank you so much for tuning back into the channel, and today it's time for Ranking Bloody Gore. I'm going to be ranking the studio albums of Death from worst to best. Death, of course, pioneers of the death metal genre here with 7 studio albums that I'm going to be ranking today. And, when it comes to the Death catalog, they don't have a bad record, so it's very difficult here to rank them, but just know that even though one may be ranked higher than the other here, they're all fantastic, and depending on when you ask me, the order could change, because even though one might be ranked higher than the other, they're all very close together. Kicking off the list here with my number 7, I guess you could say it's my least favorite Death album, but, again, with their catalog, it's like comparing an A to an A+, but that said, my least favorite has got to be Spiritual Healing from 1990. Still a very strong album here by the band. It's the only Death record to feature James Murphy on the guitar and Terry Butler on the bass as well. It's also the final to feature Bill Andrews on the drums, so, the lineup here was, kind of falling apart. It would not be a permanent lineup here for the band, right around the time for Human in 1991, but still a very strong album here by the group. Of course, the conditions during the recording here were very poor, but Death still delivered with what I think is a really great album. Again, even though it's my least favorite, it definitely does have its moments here with some great tracks being Living Monstrosity, Altering the Future, Within the Mind, the title track Spiritual Healing, Low Life, and then Killing Spree to close things out. The band is definitely moving in a more melodic direction here from Leprosy, and this album definitely to see the maturing of Chuck Schuldiner's lyrics here as a songwriter, definitely improving with every release at this point. But a great album here by the band, even though it's my least favorite and the one I probably gravitate towards the least. Still very strong here by Death, and, even though it's my number 7, still a great record in my opinion. So, that said here, kicking us off, I'm going to go with Spiritual Healing from 1990. For my number 6, I'm going to go with the only Death studio album that I don't currently own, and that's their debut from 1987, Scream Bloody Gore, regarded as one of the first ever true death metal albums here, and, it's been called a turning point for extreme metal as well. This is hands down one of the most important albums of all time, a fantastic debut by the band here. Chuck Schuldiner introducing the world to his talents in a wide array here. He is, of course, on lead vocals, but also plays guitar and bass on this record. It's a great album, in my opinion. Really powerful stuff here by the band, with some great standouts, in my opinion, such as Infernal Death, the classic Zombie Ritual. Of course, you have the great title track to close things out, Torn to Pieces and Evil Dead as well. Some great tracks on here, in my opinion, that make it one of the most important death metal albums of all time. So, that said, even though I don't own it, I definitely want to pick it up in the future. It's a great debut record here by the band, and, of course, as with any debut album, the band would have a lot of room to improve upon in the future here, but it's a fantastic debut and a fantastic first statement by the band. So, that said, it comes in at number 6 here. I gotta go with Scream Bloody Gore from 1987. Kicking us off in the top 5, I'm going to go with Individual Thought Patterns from 1993. It's 40 minutes of angry technical death metal by Chuck Schuldiner and company. The first and only Death album here to feature Andy LaRocque on lead guitar, who absolutely kills it with some great improvised guitar solos here. And of course, the first with Gene Hoglan on the drums, who's worked with just about everybody over the years, but did some fantastic work with Death, especially here on this record. Awesome job here by the band with some awesome tracks that include Inhuman Form, Jealousy, Trapped in a Corner, Nothing is Everything, Individual Thought Patterns, the title track is killer as well, and then of course you have the great The Philosopher to close things out, an epic album closer regardless of what Beavis and Butthead say. MTV should be ashamed of themselves, but an awesome album here from top to bottom for me. Really heavy and angry stuff here by the band. So that said, it kicks us off in the top 5. I'm going to go with 1993's Individual Thought Patterns. For my number 4, let's go with 1991's Human. Another great album here, and this one definitely does mark the band moving in a more introspective direction here from a songwriting perspective. And of course, like I was talking about before, Chuck Schuldiner's songwriting evolution would continue to really come into its own as their catalog would expand, and that's no different here on this record. Some great lyrics here, different for the time, but the band would continue to grow into this more introspective direction here when it comes to their songwriting over the years. But there's some great tracks on here that include Flattening of Emotions, Suicide Machine, Secret Force, Lack of Comprehension, a classic. Also on here, you have See-Through Dreams, Vacant Planets, and of course, God of Thunder, the great Kiss cover as well. Awesome work here by the group, and again, some great lyrics here that were different from the other lyrics the band were writing at the time, but they would continue to move in this direction in the future, which is what I like to hear, the evolution of a band's sound and their songwriting beginning to grow more and more. It's just so great to hear when you listen to, a band that continues to expand upon their sound and their natural evolution. So, that said, coming in at number 4 here, I'm going to go with Human from 1991. Breaking into the top 3 now, I'm going to go with Leprosy from 1988. Hands down, one of the best sophomore albums of all time, and this is my introduction to the band as well. The first Death album I ever heard, and I was absolutely blown away by the really powerful riffs on here, as well as the raging vocals by Chuck Schuldiner. And there are some awesome standouts here that include Leprosy, Born Dead, Forgotten Past, Left to Die, Pull the Plug is awesome as well. Might be my favorite Death song of all time. Open Casket, Primitive Ways, and Choke On It to close things out. From top to bottom, this album is almost perfect in my opinion. Some really, really heavy stuff on here that, really caught my attention the first time I heard it. So, that said, kicking us off in the top three, I'm going to go with my first Death album from 1988 here. I'm going to go with Leprosy. Well, from their sophomore record to their final album here, coming in at number 2, I'm going to go with 1998's The Sound of Perseverance. And, like I've been talking about throughout this entire video, the band continued to evolve and improve throughout their entire catalog, so it only makes sense that their last album here would make the top 2, and it's such a heavy, raging album by the band, with some of Chuck Schuldiner's best vocals, in my opinion, with some great standouts here that include Scavenger of Human Sorrow, Bite the Pain, Spirit Crusher. It's got some great vocals, Flesh and the Power It Holds, and Voice of the Soul. Then, of course, you have the Hidden Painkiller cover here. Awesome Judas Priest cover by Chuck Schuldiner and the band. Great, great stuff here, and again, it's one of the best final metal albums of all time. Of course, their catalog would be cut short due to Chuck Schuldiner's passing in 2001, but what a fantastic way to go out here with The Sound of Perseverance, my number 2 on the list from 1998. And finally, coming in at number 1 here, in my opinion, the greatest Death album of all time has got to be 1995's Symbolic. In the past, I've called this album perfect from top to bottom here, a 10 out of 10 record, and I definitely do stand by that here. Every song is an absolute banger, and what I absolutely love about this record is it sees the band trying to become more and more melodic, so you definitely get this merging of technical death metal and melodic death metal here to create something really cool, in my opinion. It's the final Death record to feature Gene Hoglan on the drums, but he goes out with a rage of fury here. A great, great record here, some great drumming by Gene Hoglan as well, with some awesome standouts that include Symbolic, Zero Tolerance, Empty Words, A Thousand Eyes, Without Judgment, Crystal Mountain, and then Perennial Quest to close things out. Every song absolutely rules on here. Not a bad song on this record, and nothing skippable either. So, that said, coming in at number 1 here, I'm going to go with their 10 out of 10 record from 1995, Symbolic. So, that wraps up Ranking Bloody Gore, ranking Death studio albums from worst to best, which should be visible right over here. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel down below, turn on the bell for notifications to be notified of a new upload. We are less than 50 subscribers away from hitting 1,000 subs, so if you feel like supporting, please go ahead and do so. It is greatly appreciated, and go ahead and let me know down in the comments below what are some of your favorite Death albums of all time. I'd be very interested in hearing your opinions, so let me know all that good stuff down in the comments. And until next time, it's the CD guy, Johnny Z, signing off. Take care, everybody.